Okay, let's dive right into this. There is a massive paradigm shift happening right now in professional basketball. If you've been paying any attention to the league lately, you've probably noticed that the rules of the game, and I mean in the front office, not on the court, are completely rewriting how teams are built and exactly how superstars behave. So today in this explainer, we're going to unpack the NBA's jarring new financial reality and look at how it's fundamentally changing the entire culture of the sport.
To really understand this shift, we have to start with a burning question that basically shook the basketball world. Why on earth did the Boston Celtics just trade their 2024 Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown, to the Philadelphia 76ers for a shockingly light return? I mean, they sent away a cornerstone player, right in his prime, for Paul George, a 2028 pick swap, a 2031 first-round pick, and a couple of second-rounders. It left fans completely scratching their heads, wondering what in the world could possibly justify a move like that.
Well, it brilliantly illustrates the new reality of the league. The answer isn't about basketball skill at all, and it's not about locker room chemistry either. It's strictly about spreadsheet math. Just listen to how Boston's president of basketball operations, Brad Stevens, put it. He basically admitted that trying to navigate the league with 70% of their salary cap tied into just 2 players was simply too challenging.
So here is the roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The Jaylen Brown shock. 2. The missing cap money. 3. The second apron guillotine. 4. The Supermax trap. And 5. Empowerment versus European loyalty.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the Jaylen Brown shock, and how a champion was dismantled.
The crazy thing is, Boston didn't just trade Jaylen Brown for a lackluster haul to a division rival. The suffocating financial pressures of these new rules actually forced them to fundamentally dismantle key pieces of their championship core. We are talking about crucial veteran contributors, guys like Jrue Holiday, Al Horford, and Kristaps Porzingis. They had to literally tear apart a proven title-winning roster just to avoid a terrifying new financial reality that the league recently put into place. But what actually triggered this sudden league-wide panic?
Which brings us to Section 2, the missing cap money, or what I like to call the 10% illusion.
So the crucial point here revolves around this specific number, $6 million. When the new collective bargaining agreement was signed, the universal expectation was that a massive influx of TV and streaming money would cause the salary cap to grow by the maximum allowed 10% every single year. But because of the sudden collapse of regional sports networks, the cap fell short of that projection by a staggering $6 million this year alone. Now, to an everyday fan, $6 million might sound like pocket change for a billionaire sports owner, but in this new spreadsheet era, it is literally the difference between keeping a championship core together and having to blow the whole thing up.
Front offices were handing out these massive contract extensions, assuming the cap would constantly spike to absorb them. But instead, reality hit, and the cap basically flattened out. Suddenly, a contract taking up 35% of your cap isn't shrinking over time as the cap goes up, it's staying huge. It turns what used to be a standard superstar extension into a massive, roster-destroying burden.
And that missing money pushed these expensive, top-heavy teams directly into Section 3, the second apron guillotine, and the death of the checkbook champion.
Okay, the second apron is a strict $187.6 million salary threshold. In the old days, incredibly wealthy owners could just pay a luxury tax and keep spending, right? Well, under the new rules, if you cross this line, you pay a wildly punishing tax of $7 for every $1 you spend. But here's the kicker. The financial fines aren't even the scary part. The real punishment is what it does to your ability to actually make moves.
Once you cross that second apron, a guillotine drops on your roster flexibility. You want to combine 2 $15 million players to trade for a $30 million star? Banned. Can't do it. Your first-round draft pick 7 years out? Completely frozen. Literally untradeable. And your incredibly valuable mid-level exception? It vanishes entirely. You are stuck filling out the rest of your bench with cheap, minimum contracts and absolutely no safety net.
Furthermore, it completely upends the buyout market. Under the old system, rich contenders could just scavenge the buyout market in March, swooping in to grab former All-Stars on minimum deals for a playoff run. The new rules strictly ban apron teams from signing any buyout player whose previous salary exceeded that mid-level exception. So you can't just buy a championship bench anymore. You actually have to draft and develop one.
So how exactly do teams accidentally stumble into this apron guillotine? Let's look at Section 4, the Supermax trap, where generational wealth collides with roster flexibility.
You see, the Supermax was originally designed with good intentions to help small market teams keep their homegrown stars,
by offering them up to 35% of the total salary cap. Just look at these astronomical numbers. Victor Wembanyama is looking at a projected $326 million. Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum, $314 million. It is insane wealth, but it's a massive double-edged sword. You pay your absolute best guy 35% of your cap, and suddenly you literally have pennies left to fill out the other 14 roster spots without triggering those brutal apron penalties we just talked about.
And nestled right within these massive contracts is something called a trade kicker. It's a 15% bonus clause meant to heavily penalize a team for trading a player away. It sounds like the ultimate power move for a superstar, right? But it actually reveals a pretty hilarious paradox in modern NBA economics.
Because a player's salary mathematically cannot exceed the league's absolute maximum cap limit, a superstar who is already on a max deal gets exactly nothing from a trade kicker. For example, LeBron James is a 15% trade kicker, but if he gets traded, he gets $0 extra. Meanwhile, a solid role player making $12 million actually pockets a very real $1.8 million payout. The clause brilliantly protects the role player who actually needs the stability, while doing absolutely nothing for the billionaire superstar who originally demanded it.
This brings us to Section 5, Empowerment versus European Loyalty, which is a massive cultural collision. And honestly, this is perhaps the most fascinating part of this whole explainer, how these dry, restrictive spreadsheet rules are forcefully colliding with the very soul and culture of modern basketball.
Ever since LeBron James's The Decision back in 2010, we've basically lived in the American player empowerment era. Superstars were taught to treat themselves as individual, movable brands. They started demanding trades and forming super teams the second a situation deteriorated. It was just seen as smart business. But fast forward to right now, and the new rules financially punish this kind of rapid roster turnover. It is practically impossible to assemble 3 max contract stars on one team without completely paralyzing the franchise for years. And this perfectly highlights a stark juxtaposition between two very different basketball cultures. The American system, which is deeply rooted in AAU circuits, highly values individual branding, intense exposure, and quick movement to better opportunities. But the European system, it's entirely different. European players are raised in club systems that ham home a team-first mentality, slow organic growth, and collective success right from childhood. It completely changes how these players view building a team. This deep cultural difference totally explains why European superstars rarely, if ever, demand trades. Take Nikola Jokic in Denver. For him, the city isn't just some temporary business stop on a legacy tour. It's a home. When things go wrong, their first instinct isn't to force a trade to a ready-made super team in a bigger market. Their instinct is to stay, put their head down, and organically fix the team they are already on. So the crucial point to take away from all of this is that the highly punitive new rules accidentally reward this exact European mentality. If you want to win a title without triggering the second apron, you have to be incredibly patient. You must draft well, prioritize the second draft of undervalued players on cheap deals, and grow organically over time, which is exactly what Victor Wembanyama is trying to build right now in San Antonio. The rules strictly and severely punish hasty, checkbook star chasing.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. As we watch American superstars basically forced to adapt to a league where loyalty is suddenly a rigid financial requirement, rather than just a nice moral choice, we have to ask, is the era of the manufactured Big Three officially dead? The math certainly suggests that the balance of power has shifted permanently back to patience, planning, and loyalty. Thanks for checking out this explainer. Keep these rules in your back pocket the next time trade season rolls around, because trust me, the game has changed forever.